All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Daniel, for the great introduction. And I want to also thank Impact, especially Veronica, Joanna, and Michael, for having coordinated this great event. And I'm here to talk about e-Residency. I hope most of you have already heard about it. It's a government-backed program by the Republic of Estonia, which enables entrepreneurs around the world to operate and establish a company in Estonia, and as a result, the single market of the European Union. So we'll jump right into it. What is e-Residency? So e-Residency is an extension, actually, of the e-governance platform of Estonia. Estonia, for those of you who don't know, has over 5,000 services that they run online using the e-governance platform, and it's also the only country in the world where people even vote over the internet. And they decided 3 years ago, so we just celebrated our 3rd anniversary on Friday last week, to extend the opportunity to people to establish a company and run it using a government-backed digital ID. And it looks something like that, but all right, and I'll come to the values. So why did we start this? What was our aim? We consider e-Residency to be Estonia's gift to the world. It allows for financial inclusion. The idea is that if you're based in any country where you have difficulty accessing service providers, if you want to connect and run a business online and you're based in a different country, you have partners on the far side of the world in Singapore and the US, the only place today where you can actually establish a business and completely run it online is Estonia. The next part is legitimacy. That's a very big thing that we talk about, especially in the European Union single market. When you do everything online, whether that's your transactions, whether that's doing a board-based resolution, which you sign digitally, everything's recorded on the partial blockchain that the Estonian e-government platform works on. So if I ever have to actually verify what I've done, and if anyone in the government checks my records, I can do that. And of course, this also provides transparency, right? So if I need to share any tax-related data with the government of, let's say, India, then I can e-notarize it in Estonia and provide that document on paper to another country. So for me, I don't have to travel to Estonia, right? I can be based in India, Singapore, US, wherever I am, and still be running my business completely online. And it resolves a problem for me. I may have shareholders sitting in the US, I may have partners sitting in Singapore, but I can be anywhere in the world traveling and run my business 100% remotely. And of course, this allows empowerment. So we also recently started a pilot project with the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. And we have 10 women. We're trying to promote e-commerce among women in India. And if this works out, I hope that the next project will be with the WTO in Rwanda. And for whom is it? Everyone. So that's one of the biggest parts. We're talking about a borderless service which does not discriminate among people based on what their nationality is, what their security risks might be, but what the idea is to provide them this opportunity to connect to the internet and run their business 100% online.
While some countries push people away, Estonia pulls them in. What kind of problems can e-Residency solve for an entrepreneur? Say you're a freelance writer in Ukraine, and you need to receive international payments. e-Residency enables it. Or maybe you run a startup in India and need access to cross-border capital to help scale internationally. e-Residency allows it. What if you're a digital nomad or expat and want to run your company after you move to a different country? e-Residency is the answer. You might be outside the EU, but want a trusted company registered inside the world's largest single market. e-Residency can make it happen. Or if you're already an EU citizen, but you want to lower the cost and hassle of administrating your company, e-Residency makes that possible. Maybe you have multiple board members all over the world. e-Residency means board decisions and contracts can be legally approved online instantly. Whatever your nationality, whatever your situation, applying for e-Residency is the best way to run a global EU company fully online with minimal cost and hassle. Apply for e-Residency today and join our new digital nation. e-resident.gov.ee.
All right, so that video was a little bit to let you know what are the use cases, right, for e-residency. What can you actually do with it? And there's actually much more. It's not just useful for you as entrepreneurs, but it's also useful for investors, for employees, for partners, for anyone for that matter. And that's why it's very interesting, not just for someone who's doing one business activity, but across the board. In the future, we also hope that e-residency can actually provide much more to people. And for us, we call ourselves a government startup, and we're still running e-residency in the final beta mode. And hopefully soon, we'll also be able to provide people the opportunity to not just establish and manage their business, but actually grow their business and find business opportunities. Presently, we stand at about 27,000 plus e-residents from 143 countries around the world. And funny enough, some of our largest number of e-residents come from our neighbor next door, Finland. The reason for that is very simple, because they find it much easier to collaborate with international partners. It's much more time and monetary-wise cost-effective for them to run a company. And of course, because it's all online, it's less bureaucratic. And that's what you really need as a business person. We have about 4,200 plus companies established so far, and our aim is that we should have about 20,000 companies by 2020. So we're very ambitious as a government organization. And how do you actually do that? So the first step's very simple. You go online to the website e-resident.gov.ee. You fill out the form, upload a picture, put up your passport picture. It's easier actually than even starting an email account, and you're good to go. You pay 100 euros, and about 4 to 6 weeks, the Police and Border Guard of Estonia runs a full background check on each application that they receive, and they let you know if you received it. So far, out of the 27,000 plus e-resident applications that we received, the rejection rate's been under 1%. So your chances of getting e-residency is pretty high. The next is starting a company. So we partner up with a number of private service providers in Estonia who will help you with all kinds of virtual services, whether that's virtual accounting, bookkeeping, virtual assistant, virtual office. So you have all these services. And in the future, we've already partnered up with a few organizations. I'll make a case out of one of them very soon. You'll also be able to grow your business, and that's one of the biggest questions and requests that we've been receiving in the recent past. The next is to run your company 100% remotely and administer it digitally. So this is helpful not just from the perspective of you as an entrepreneur or as an investor, but it's also very useful for, let's say, if you're running an investment platform. So recently I had a few French people who came up to me at work, and they said, can we use e-residency for our investors who are part of our platform? And we said, absolutely, because we also allow service providers to integrate the API, which has already been done for ages in Estonia by the government for Estonian service providers. And now we can actually allow e-residents to access their portal without them actually storing any private confidential data, because Estonia is also known for its cybersecurity structure in terms of storing information by the government. So you don't need to store the data, you just use your ID. The API pulls the data and you can log into the platform, you can choose segmented access options, and there's a very good example of a fintech company that we're working with right now, which I will talk about in a few seconds. And there we go, tale of Holvi. So Holvi is a banking solution service provider based out of Finland. They were recently bought by BBVA, and they're actually using e-residency as a step for KYC, because one of the biggest things that e-residency does is identifies the people in person by an established European Union government organization. So whenever you receive an authentication that your card's been granted, what you need to do is go to an Estonian embassy, go to the visa center, give your biometric prints, and then you receive your card, and that's when the security certificates on the card are active. So by virtue of doing that, there's a physical KYC that's already done. They're also using e-residency, and they will also be using e-residency in the future to integrate it onto their platform in a way that they don't need to store the data of these people on their platform. And using the e-residency card, they can actually log into their platform, sign documents, because it's very easy to do that by using just a combination of 2 pins, and by virtue of you having a card, or in the future perhaps even your cell phone, that's what people do in Estonia right now, you have default 2-step verification. Synergies with e-residency. So I already talked about the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development pilot project. The other part is EstCoin. Maybe some of you heard a little buzz about this in the recent past. And in about 2 weeks, we'll be coming out with a white paper, which will talk about the kind of feedback that we received and where we stand in terms of actually making this project a reality. But I truly believe that Estonia is one of the few places, because everything's run online, that it can actually become a reality instead of just remaining talk. And once again, for those of you who may be confused about it, we are not talking about a cryptocurrency. We're talking about doing a crypto token. So it'll be the first nation-backed ICO. And of course, we're always looking for new service providers, regardless of what your location is. So if any of you think you can provide e-commerce opportunities, so I met an interesting guy a few days ago from Twisto, Michael Smida, I don't know if he's still here. And I met him at the airport, and we started talking about how they could provide an opportunity to e-commerce providers, because they're working in Poland and Czechia, which is formerly the Czech Republic, and how they can help e-resident companies who are doing e-commerce have opportunity to scale and find new consumers in these two markets. So whatever you're doing, whether that's banking solutions, whether it's anything else, come talk to us. And e-residency and the crystal ball. So a lot's happening in Estonia. We're also thinking the tax board. So far, if you log into your tax register and you want to declare your taxes, you have to do one signature, and it takes you less than 5 minutes. But the government wants to go a step further. They don't want you to take the 5 minutes. It's too much. So they're actually going to create an automated taxation system where the taxes are deducted automatically. And if you have any questions or you need to provide extra information, you can always go back to the government and let them know whatever your queries are. The next part is a community platform, and that's one of the big things that we're working on right now. So there's a lot of e-residents around the world already. There's more credibility because they actually run companies. There's credit scores. There's financial performance data. There's a lot out there. So we want this platform for e-residents to engage with each other, collaborate, learn from each other, and also for new service providers to have their own opportunity to interact with these e-residents through a digital platform without compromising their private and confidential information. The other part is, of course, we're always looking for service providers, like I said, who don't really just help you run your business and establish a company, but scale your business. And we've been talking to a bunch of people who are doing freelance businesses, who are helping people with being better digital nomads. And in the future, we hope that we will also be able to provide them sector-based approaches. So we're still collecting that data and seeing what kind of typical companies do these e-residents run. And of course, S-Coin. Could Estonia be the first nation to actually do a crypto token in the world as a country? So thank you very much.